Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Fitma Ramadhani and my registration number is A1N2190007. I'm from Group Sentence. Here, I will continue the explanation about our material sentence. I will explain the next two types of sentences based on structure, namely complex sentence and compound complex sentence. First, complex sentence. What is a complex sentence? Complex sentence is a sentence type consisting of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Independent clause is a group of words that contain subject, verb, and other components to form a complete thought. Dependent clause also contains subject and verb but doesn't reveal a complete thought. In complex sentence, the independent clause contains the main thought and becomes the foundation, whereas the dependent clause is additional. Dependent clause can be divided into three, namely adverbial clause, adjective clause, and noun clause. The dependent clause is preceded by a dependent marker word which makes the meaning of the sentence unclear. It includes subordinate conjunctions and relative pronouns. Next, I will explain the formula of complex sentence. The first formula is independent clause plus subordinate conjunction or relative pronoun plus dependent clause. For example, as you can see, she is an old woman who lives at the edge of town. Dia adalah seorang wanita tua yang tinggal sendirian di pinggir kota. She is an old woman is independent clause plus who is relative pronoun plus lives alone at the edge of town to form a dependent clause. So the dependent clause is who lives alone at the edge of town. Who here connects the independent clause and dependent clause. The type of the dependent clause is adjective clause. The second formula is subordinate conjunction or relative pronoun plus dependent clause plus independent clause. For example, because Mega often exercise, she looks fresh and fit. Karena Mega sering berolahraga, dia terlihat segar dan bugar. Because is subordinate conjunction, which is followed by sentence Mega often exercise to form a dependent clause. So the dependent clause is because Mega often exercise plus independent clause she looks fresh and fit. The type of the dependent clause in this sentence is adverbial clause. Pay attention to this sentence. There is a comma punctuation in the middle as a separator between the dependent clause and independent clause because in this formula the dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence. Some of the subordinate conjunctions that are often used after, although, as, because, before, how, if, once, since, then, that, talk, till, until, when, where, whether, and while. Next, some of the relative pronouns that are often used: that, which, who, whom, and whose. Next, I will explain compound complex sentence. Compound complex sentence is a sentence type consisting of compound sentence and complex sentence. It consists of at least two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. The formula of compound complex sentence are: the first formula is independent clause plus conjunction plus dependent clause plus conjunction plus independent clause. For example, my cousin often tells jokes that make me laugh, but sometimes his jokes sound boring because he repeats the same jokes. Sepupu saya sering memberitahu lelucon yang membuat saya tertawa, tetapi kadang-kadang leluconnya terdengar membosankan karena dia mengulangi lelucon yang sama. My cousin often tells jokes is independent clause plus relative pronoun that as conjunction plus sentence make me laugh to form a dependent clause. So the dependent clause is that make me laugh. Plus coordinate conjunction but plus independent clause sometimes his jokes sound boring plus subordinate conjunction because which is followed by sentence he repeats the same jokes to form a dependent clause. The sentence consists of two independent clauses and two dependent clauses. The type of the dependent clauses are adjective clause and adverbial clause. The second formula of compound complex sentence is conjunction plus dependent clause plus independent clause plus conjunction plus independent clause. For example, as you can see, before your parents know, you should fix this problem or they will be mad to you. Sebelum orang tuamu tahu, kamu harus memperbaiki masalah ini atau mereka akan marah kepadamu. Subordinate conjunction before which is followed by sentence your parents know to form a dependent clause. Plus independent clause, you should fix this problem plus coordinate conjunction or plus independent clause, they will be mad to you. In the middle of the sentence, there is a comma punctuation as a separator between a dependent clause and two independent clauses. Well, the type of the dependent clause here is adverbial clause. Well, that's my explanations about complex sentence and compound complex sentence. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.